Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. We are going to do our usual lunch stuff. This morning, I wrote a story, which you can read on X and on Sports Talk Florida, about what Brett Yormark has planned for the Big 12. And he's got a lot of plans for them. We know that they're going to have some fun things going on with regard to playing games in Europe and playing games in different parts of the world, Mexico and other options. So there's a lot of stuff going on, which is very interesting, and we hope that from that standpoint that they do well. He is going to test the market and see how many people he can get from different media outlets. They're using they're sub licensing. Now, that means that ESPN or Fox, in this case, ESPN, owns those licenses, okay? And they will allow the conference to sub license out the media rights. So that's how you're seeing, in some cases, for instance, the deal that they had with TBS and TNT is they got playoff games. And the playoff games were benefited, excuse me, uh, to TNT from ESPN, who used them because what they were doing is they gave them the playoff games. Now, they gave them those playoff games, which they produced and their announcers announced on. It's basically an ESPN production, in exchange for the NBA on the NBA on ESPN, which of course was the show with Charles Barkley, Shaq, and Kenny and Ernie, which used to be on TNT but now is on ESPN. So it's kind of the trade was the trade of the NBA show to ESPN for the playoff games. So there's that going on. So I think Brett has a plan, and he's sticking to the plan, and we'll see how it works out for him. It's a gamble. When you don't re-up with your partners and you go to open bidding, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I think that we'll have to see how that works out. Now, I know some of you have said in the past, well, wait a minute, ESPN wants to see the ACC crumble and filter stuff over to the Big Ten. I'm sorry, Big E. Let's try that again. ESPN wants to see the ACC crumble so they can, shift things over to the Big 12. That's not technically true. Okay. Now let me tell you why. The ACC is owned 100% by ESPN. Okay. The Big 12 is not. The Big 12 is a shared deal with Fox. So they don't get, they being ESPN, they do not get 100% of the profit that they benefit from, with the sub-licensing agreements. In the ACC, they do. Now, there's a couple things going on here. As we know, the old Jefferson Pilot Group, which for many years was the backbone of the ACC, has decided that what they're going to do is, they mean the ACC, they're going to test that case with ESPN. ESPN is a partner on the ACC network, so that's a 50-50 split. So they're testing something, which um, might be very good for the ACC, and we'll have more on that tomorrow. Is they're letting Duke this year have 3 basketball games that will be on Amazon Prime. Okay, it's a game against UConn, which is going to be played in Vegas. There's a game against Michigan, which is going to be played in Madison Square Garden, and then there's a game later in the season, which is going to be played against Gonzaga. Okay, so those are some things that they're testing the waters. Now you may say, well, wait a minute. Why would ESPN allow this to happen, right? Why would they partner up or sublicense to a competitor? Well, here's the thing. Amazon Prime, Apple, YouTube are international brands. So it's a worldwide brand. So if they pay the conference money, that's a 50-50 split with ESPN and the conference, the ACC, okay? And so actually ESPN benefits by sublicensing those rights to a streamer. So it also helps their direct-to-consumer product, okay? Because at that point, people will know more about how to get ESPN directly and some of the content. So it really benefits both Amazon and ESPN, or Apple and ESPN, when they do this. They've already do it with Apple on the MLS. They already do it with Apple on some baseball product, which they are working together on. They do it with Amazon also, again, on baseball. And so it's not foreign to them. ESPN, surprisingly to some, has a good relationship with both Apple and Amazon Prime. So that's why you could see sublicensing. Now, as I said, let me go back here for a moment to the Big 12 and to the article I wrote this morning. And the most practical version would keep the ACC base television package with ESPN carving out a small number of premium games, okay? Now, those could include high-value Saturday windows. Most likely, though, I would think it would be Friday night windows or select rivalry match that a streamer can market, as appointment viewing. ESPN could still control the broader schedule, but but the conference gains additional revenue from the premium window buyer, which in this case could be Prime or Apple. But that's the same. We're looking at the same thing here for both ESPN and the ACC, and ESPN and the Big 12. So don't be surprised, at all, if for some reason they choose to do that. I mean, it's something that I think that we will be seeing is more and more of that type of work. So yeah, without question. All right, let's see. We got a question here. All right, the following schools. Okay, looking for questions. All right, let's see who got his question. Hokie Mark. The Big 12 editions of BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, Arizona, and Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah gave them conference with footprint across every time zone. Mark, Hokie Mark, I should say, which I assume is from Virginia Tech, says that's incorrect because there is no Big 12 teams in the Pacific time zone. That's almost correct, and I think we're both correct on this, and here's why. Half the year, basically from November to March, it's in the Pacific time zone. Arizona is. Half the year, it's not. Then you're back in the mountain time zone. So technically, you're half correct. Technically, I'm half correct on that one. Okay, so that's how that works. Let's see. What's John DeLuke have for us? John says it was 100% true. Not sure what we're talking about here. Won the league 4 times on 35 years. This is Penn State. Everything Paterno built was traded to be the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. Now they're looking to be the 4th, perhaps the 5th historical relevant team somewhere between 5 through 7 in annual competitive relevance. For some reason, Penn State has really never taken off in the Big Ten. I mean, they it would help if they would consistently beat Michigan and Ohio State, and there's no reason why, frankly, they can't. But it never has seemed to work out for them, even when Joe Pa was there. It wasn't, they weren't as relevant as they were when they were an independent and winning national championships. So talking about Penn State's relevance in the Big Ten, I think you're 100% correct that forget it. They're not a relevant team any longer. And, we're going to see how that whole thing shakes out for James Franklin, who now, Hokie, has got the reins in the, at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. I think he's going to do well. I do. I think James is a really hell of a recruiter, and I think that he will really do fine in what's going on at Virginia Tech. A lot of fans of Virginia Tech. Good people. Good people. All right, what do we got here? Uncle June. Okay. Penn State won the Big Ten multiple times before Franklin showed up. Technically, yes, but not to the point where they became relevant. So, sorry to say, Uncle June, they did win the conference title, but they didn't win any national championships, and they didn't get any juice out of it. All right, let's see. Jay Dunn, what you got for me, Jay? Jay says Big Ten has 18 teams. The ACC has 17 teams and a half, which makes them 18, I guess. And the SEC has 16. He thinks expansion is at least on the table as an option. I'm guessing he's talking now for the ACC. UConn, Washington State, Oregon State, all viable candidates. San Diego State might be on the table based on the Big 12 not having a California presence. So he's thinking that maybe the teams that the Big 12 are looking at are UConn, Washington State, Oregon State, San Diego State, and perhaps basketball-wise, sliding over and getting Gonzaga. I don't know, to be honest. The Big 12, there was definite push to get UConn in from Brett Yormark. And I think Brett, they turned it back because they don't think the UConn can compete in football. I think what that will do is play into the hands of the ACC. So if the ACC loses 4 teams, say, then it's very likely that UConn, Washington State, Oregon State, and San Diego State become the backbone of a western flank of the ACC. So that's what I think is going to happen there. So, and look, guys, you're here. Questions. All you have to do is hit that link, and if you want to send in some questions now's continue a good time. We got some good ones here popping up from guys all over the place. So hang on one second as we scroll down to get our next group of questions. Thanks to George Cole, Blaine Rogers, and Armand for following. Greatly appreciate it, boys. University of Houston from Mr. Rogers. Okay. Go Cougars. And let's see who we got here from Hector Jimenez. Hector, a USF guy. All right. Go Bulls. All right. Horns up. Horns up. So what do we got there? All right. All right, here, this is James Kramer and a couple of other guys. This is a post I made earlier this morning. Everything depends on what happens in the Big Ten. If they expand, that could leave openings for USF and UConn, as I said before, in the ACC. I expect those to be the two prominent leaders in the clubhouse. Tulane, Memphis also would be probably there. That's for the East. They would have to then go west, most likely go west, and scoop up the teams that we talked about there. Don't sleep on UNLV. I think they're going to be there as well. So by 100%, I think you want to be there, and that's the way to go. So let's hope that is what's going on. Let's see what we got here. What do we got here? We got some fun stuff from. Goodness, sorry, I lost it there for a second. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people responded to Linda Cohn's story I wrote yesterday. Linda is leaving at the end of the week. From ESPN. Now, Linda has been there for 30 years. It's been a historic career for her. She's had a heck of a run. One of the nicest people that you're ever going to meet, without question. Linda is that. She's also an outstanding broadcaster and really a trailblazer. It really, I think, was a good deal. We're very pleased that Linda is moving on and having enjoying her new life and with her family, and she, along with Chris Berman and Bob Lee and Dan Patrick and Keith Oberman, all were very important to putting Sports Center in what's going on. Catholic Pepper asking, would have loved to been a fly on the wall when Woodson changed NC State's expansion vote. That assumed, I think that's what he's talking about with Cal and Stanford. He did it because they needed Cal and Stanford for the money. So let's see the Spanky Mac show. What are we doing here, Spanky? They ain't doing nothing even close to what the coward had. Spanky, buddy, if you're going to send something in, I'm happy to answer your question. Please tell me what the question is. That would really be helpful. Emma, thank you very much. Emma is one of our new followers, 10,000 plus strong now. All right, what do we got here? Mercer Hoops. Okay, if these questions are getting tougher to read, guys. The state entities, for the most part, and they do not want their senators and representatives. This is the Save College Sports Act, I believe. So it will not pass. Power 3 doesn't want it. That's not technically true. Only SEC and Big Ten at the moment don't want it, which certainly can kill it. Supermajority plus allies outside the power conferences will kill it. I don't know. I think if they do, it'd be if they do change the bill to be more friendly to what they feel is happening in conferences. I think then, yeah, you might see it. So we'll see. All right, Atlanta catch fire. Okay. It was a lot of cash. The old Pac-12 was not sustainable, and it's all going to be a super league soon enough. USC at its peak dominated Ohio State and Michigan on and off the field. Unfortunately, it's been one of the worst run programs in college football over the last 15 years. They've had their problems. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They've had their problems out at USC. And you're absolutely right. Through the John McKay era at USC and John Robinson era, and then, of course, Pete Carroll was there. USC did really well. So USC was and continues to be one of the top brands. It will never be the top brand in the Big Ten. It'll never outshine Michigan and Ohio State. And I think that's what we were talking about yesterday, about giving up your identity for what? For money? Okay, fair enough. If that's what you think is what you need, then do it. But I just don't see where that's, it's wise to give up your dream just because of that. All right, Johnny, what do you got for me? Johnny vividly remembers Beano Cook warning Penn State fans in 1993 that no matter what or how much they accomplish in the Big Ten, it'll always be Michigan and Ohio State's conference. USC will learn that lesson soon too, enough too. 100%, Johnny. I agree with you on that one. I just mentioned it. Beano got in love. That's Beano Cook, one of the most interesting and funny characters on the planet. He was a genius. He was funny. He was someone who I think we don't, a lot of, unless you were around 20, 30 years ago, you wouldn't know the name. But Beano Cook was very entertaining. Beano was a hell of a writer, and then he became involved with with Notre Dame, and then Penn State and Pitt, and he was a Pittsburgh guy. Just love him. He's one of the nice guys. Really, really, really super guy, and he's a one of a kind. If you can't find anything about Beano, go on YouTube, and I guarantee you'll find out a ton of stuff about Beano Cook. So Beano was a once in a lifetime kind of guy. All right. All right, what do we got here? If you're Nebraska, what would it take to return to the Big 12? Well, Gerald, I don't think it would be difficult, because they'd be taking a $30 million cut in pay. So I don't think it's happening. Did they make the right move? I don't know. I think that I think they thought they did, but that was Tom Osborne's Nebraska football teams. Okay, those were the successful ones. Once he left, so did the ambiance of and the mystique in Nebraska. So I don't. The short answer is I don't see it happen. I mean, I don't see them taking a huge cut in revenue from the conference. They're in the Big Ten, and it might not be where they think they want, and they've mentioned that, so that I'm not saying anything out of school here. to go back to the Big 12. I just I don't see how that happens. I just don't see how it. Uh, so no, I don't see why they would do it. It just doesn't make any sense. Um, I, I look, you guys know I'm a traditionalist. I would love to see everybody go back to where they were, including all the way back to the Big Eight, the Big East. But that's not going to happen. So we can wish it all we want to, but if you're going to drop $30 million off of your program just to go back, I don't think that's going to happen. And even if they did, the way they've been playing, I have no reason to believe that Nebraska is going to be better in the Big 12 conference than they would be in the Big 10. So I don't know. As I said, as a traditionalist, I agree with you, but as a realist, I don't see how it happens. So there you go. Let's go on now and see. Let's go see what we got down on the next level of things here. Part of this, folks, is it's a total scroll here, so it's why it's sometimes a little difficult. Doug Scott talking. He's also talking about the situation with regard to Penn State now. A lot of aspirations, a lot of goals, but no strategy to achieve them. I guess you could say that they've lacked leadership in a number of different ways. That's not being wrong in that case. Uncle June, he's talking about Penn State now. The Jerry Sandusky situation derailed the program. It's pretty clear right now that was a criminal matter that should not have cost Penn State years. Uncle June, how do I put this without trying to push it down here? The problem with the Sandusky cover-up, okay, and this is public knowledge, so I'm not speaking anything out of school. There were a number of political figures in the state of Pennsylvania who at the time had strong connections to Penn State and helped suppress the Sandusky situation, okay? And that's where politics and Penn State kind of met each other. I do recall when I was working with the Washington Examiner as a columnist, getting a phone call early in the morning telling me that quick to get to the Big Ten network because they were literally taking Joe Pa's, statue away from Beaver Stadium. And as they dismantled, and then of course they called themselves on the penalties before the NCAA did. So they had a coming to make it work. So the Sandusky situation was intertwined with the people inside Penn State. So it really was I know you, as you say, you would like to say that it wasn't, but it was because, you can't get away from the fact that members of the state of Pennsylvania legislature, all the way up to the governor at the time, had their fingerprints all over the Penn State cover-up. So, again, what I'm saying to you is not some insider information that I'm just passing along to you. It's public knowledge. It's been written by a number of outlets, including, of course, the New York Times and multiple news outlets and certainly multiple sports news outlets. So So 100%, that is, there was enough there to make that stick on Penn State. And Joe Pa, I do recall when that happened, Bobby Bowden basically, Bobby Bowden then became the winningest coach in college football. And I remember Bowden at the time. Bobby was pretty adamant about the whole thing, and he felt bad because he felt that he might have deserved it, right? But he kind of wanted it a different way, he would have liked to. I think part of it was that Joe Pa really never, never really felt like he accepted Bowden as a peer, which was Joe Pa was an interesting cat. He really was. He was a very strong-willed person, and he really didn't want to talk about anything that didn't have to do with football. He didn't quite grasp, or for that matter, enjoy the kind of homespun down south guy that Bobby Bowden was. I spent a lot of time with Coach Bowden over the years. Tremendous guy, loved him to death. He was an outstanding guy. Was around Joe Pa, not as much, but they were two very different personalities, and it's hard not to say that there wasn't any sort of governmental involvement in that whole situation. I mean, it would be wrong to say it. And so, as I say, I strongly suggest you look it up, and you'll see that it is what it is, right? Let's pop over and see if we got some more questions. Okay. We have a question having to do with: do you think the Big Ten must add teams? The answer to the question is a short answer: no, they don't. Will they? Maybe, but we'll see. Rudy, all right, Rudy from Florida, top performing Florida State University's FIU, Florida number 2, USF number 3, Florida State number 4, West Florida number 5, Disney Community College, also known as UCF, number 6. That's funny, Rudy. We Rudy is also a good guy with that follows Florida State and a number of other schools in the state of Florida. So Rudy, that's hilarious. It's funny. He's got it going there. What do we got over here? All right. We have Rudy with Bill. What you got, Bill? Bill wants to know, is it posturing, or is the Big 12 going to go forth with the opportunity of going out to open market and not re-upping with Fox and ESPN? The short answer to that is yes. It looks that way. I think Brett Yormark feels that he's got a compelling um, reason to go out and try to put it up for bid. It's dangerous in so much as you don't know what the landscape in 2030 is going to be with regard to the TV amount of money that's going to be out there to be spent. So that's the gamble he takes. Um, Brett is a sharp guy. He truly is. Great respect for him. We'll see if he can pull off the promotion and get that self done. Now, there's been a lot of talk about um, poaching teams from the ACC. I don't know. I don't. Um, I think the ACC can figure out a way not to. I mean, they're not the Pac-12. They're not going to absolutely totally crumble. That's not going to happen. But as for the other things, can they? Could they? I guess if I'm having to say, could they pull away some teams? Maybe Louisville, maybe Virginia Tech. I don't know. I mean, that would be about it. There's no real reason to leave to go in what would pretty much be a lateral move. So I don't think that's going to happen. All right, what you got for me? S. That's all it is. S. All right, Utah, Colorado, and Arizona have acceptance rates hovering around 90%. It's basically open enrollment. Academically prestigious schools have much lower acceptance rates like USC, UCLA. I went to a good school to get away from the dummies like the University of Utah and ASU. All right. S, my friend. Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State. You're talking about the acceptance rates, okay? They're state colleges. State colleges do have acceptance rates that are usually lower than 90%. Now, that being said, follow me here, buddy. Utah, Colorado, Arizona State, ASU are AAU, members of the AAU. Okay, the AAU is the American Academic Union. They are among the top research universities in the country. Utah, I'm going to give a shout out to the Utes. Utah, when they were in the Big 12, I'm sorry, in the Pac 12, had a graduation rate and a grade point average of their student athletes second only to Stanford and fifth overall in the country. So, to say that the acceptance rates are high, well, yeah, they're high because they're state universities. You said USC and UCLA. USC is a private school, so yeah, it's going to be tougher to get into USC. UCLA gets more applications. Okay, now follow me on this one. UCLA gets more applications from people within the state of California and outside the state of California than any other school in the country. So, if you're banking on acceptance rates as your number one reason why you think that Utah, Colorado, and Arizona State are academically, bad situations. I don't see how that doesn't jive. And if you're correct, I mean, if you're looking at them against UCLA and USC, I mean, hell, that's crazy. I mean, that isn't even apples to oranges. That's like apples to watermelons. It does not compute. Okay, you said you went to a better school than University of Utah or ASU. Well, perhaps you did. I don't know what school you went to, but maybe somewhere we'll find out. No. Sorry about that. All right. Greg Jennings. Greg, what you got for me, buddy? All right. Greg, good guy in Utah. Speaking of Utah, he liked the article yesterday. It had to do with the legacy of the late Paul Tagliabue, who died at 84 yesterday. Tagliabue was the NFL's seventh commissioner, and he really was the league's attorney for many years. And then they elevated him to the commissioner's office, and he really reshaped the way the NFL played the games, as well as he oversaw expansion to Jacksonville and to Charlotte. He was very strong in developing new TV partnerships. He was good with the CBA, so he got along with the Players Association well. All in all, Paul Tagliabue was one of the most successful commissioners the NFL has had. So rest in peace, Paul Tagliabue. And Greg, I'm glad that you enjoyed reading the article yesterday. That was interesting. Captain Fantastic, what do you got? I don't know. This is hard to read, buddy. Looks like the day be Friday, and Big 12 will be able to move on based on what we are currently hearing from Pullman. I assume what he's saying there is that the Big 12 might be adding the University of Washington State, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Haven't heard anything about it. Doubt that they are, but we'll see. FSU has been at the forefront of the strategy with College Town and for other areas, hotels, restaurants, shops, something above the drive-through or strip malls. Okay. How exactly does that help? I don't know what you're trying to get at there, Shane. I've been to Tallahassee many, many times. It is a college town. It's also the capital of the state. So one would expect that there would be more than just strip malls through there. Andrew Percival, what have you got for me? He's going to be forever angry at USC for leaving the Pac-12, but I didn't think Michigan deserved this kind of pedestal because reasonable arguments can be made that USC has a better history and will have a better future. Ohio State is the only program in the league that deserves that status. Well, again, not to beat a dead horse, but history, yes. History in the conference, no. You're just not grasping what I'm trying to say here. USC's history was all in the Pac-12 conference, okay? When they moved to the Big Ten, that all went away. Have they been champions? Yeah, they've been champions in the Big 12. Have they won national champions? Yeah, they won a few with John McKay and with Pete Carroll. But, with Lincoln Riley, we'll see. But Lincoln Riley can win a national championship just like Kurt Singretti did with Illinois. I'm sorry, Indiana. Oops, wrong eye. Indiana. That's not going to make him. That's not going to make Indiana vault above Ohio State and Michigan. So, Andrew, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. All right. Doug Scott, who cares? History doesn't win anything going forward. It's for fans to look back and brag about. For the future, what matters is where you're situated now. Unquestionably, they're better positioned for the future being in the Big Ten. I think, Doug, that's argument. We can make an argument about that. Um, I just, sports is history. You can't get away from that. I think that you can talk about what's going on and all that good stuff, and maybe so. Maybe you're right. Maybe maybe the future is for them now. I don't know, but if without the sports history, then Alabama. We talked about Penn State earlier. They all live with a historical background. I mean, if that were the case, what's going forward, then Florida State and Clemson, if we're living in the here and now, none of the programs, with the exception of Miami, that are being considered to move from the ACC would be going anywhere. So I don't necessarily see where you go with that, Doug. It's interesting. I know you're not the only one that thinks it that way. Okay. All right, Captain Fantastic, what have you got for me here? Well, if there weren't any concerns, and he put me in there, wouldn't be on the offensive. It reminds me of Tony Altomore, John Kisano's treat when the Pack was about to get pillaged. And he includes a tweet that was put out by John Kisano, where he said, making the Pac-12 more media rights waves, WSU president sets expectations Source will be the best in the Big 12. Look, you want to include me in a conversation with Tony Altomore and John Canzano, I'm here for it all day long. Tony's a good guy. John's a good guy. I'm not sure what you're mad at, but I wouldn't be on the offensive. I don't know that I am on the offensive. Not quite sure, Captain Fantastic, what you mean by me being on the offensive. If you mean I didn't want to see it go, I didn't. All right, my buddy Cal Bear. Hey, Jim, can you comment about how much the ACC network in market fees and ESPN need for the late window content, and how it will affect the decision on who to add and if when in departures of 2030 and 31? Yeah, as a matter of fact, give me a second here. Give me 1 second. Okay, here's what I'm going to do for you there, Cal. Good to see you, by the way. Hope you're having a nice lunch. Let's see. I just had my lunch, which was yogurt and fruit. I like to have a nice, healthy lunch. Okay. There you go. That, if you click on that, that will give you something. It'll be on X tomorrow, but I'm going to give you a preview of it. What the deal is here is they're doing a test. The ACC is doing a test. They're allowing. Now, remember that the ACC network, okay, in market fees, it's 100%. Yes, the ACC network is 100% owned by ESPN. It's a 50-50 split right down the middle on revenue. They're doing a test, and it's being done with Amazon this coming college basketball season, where they're going to have 3 Duke games air in a sub-licensing agreement with the ACC. And it's kind of a proof of concept. If that works, and there's no reason to believe it's not going to work, then Amazon could pump money in there, which would keep some of the brands I would think intact and in there. So I believe this is going to be a good proof of concept deal. Just for the record, Cal, the Apple tried to buy the Pac-12 network, and Larry Scott didn't sell it to them. That was another huge mistake Larry Scott made. But I'm interested from your standpoint, who you think they should add in the upcoming months to the ACC. So if you click on that link I put in the show comments, you'll get some information about the ACC network. It'll be on X tomorrow, but I'm giving you a heads up and giving you a preview before anybody else gets to see it. So read it, enjoy it, and let me know what you think. But the in-market fees for that late window, I think that the window that they can sell and make money, there's two. One is the late window. There's no question about that. Especially if they add like San Diego State or somebody like that, because I don't think Cal or Stanford wants to play late night football games, 7:30, out there in Strawberry Canyon. I don't think they want to do that. But San Diego State wouldn't mind. They're used to it already. So that's a possibility. Even UNLV could do the same. So yeah, look at that. Look at adding some Western teams to that. They need more Western teams to make that one work. But look at the Friday night window. I think the Friday night window would be strong. And I don't Miami. If Miami does not go, if Miami doesn't go to the Big Ten, okay, if the Big Ten does not invite Miami, then I think Miami stays and can be talked into staying. And the reason being, ironically, is that Miami has always said that they want to be like Cal and Stanford. I did Miami football games in the early 80s, and that was what the theory of the case was, that Miami wanted to be the Cal and Stanford of the East. So now they're in the same conference with Cal and Stanford. So, I mean, I think that the only thing that would keep them from leaving the ACC is a shot at the Big Ten. I truly don't think that Miami gets into the SEC. I don't think they want to be there. I don't think the SEC wants them to be there. Florida's not a big fan. Now that doesn't mean that they wouldn't take them, just because Florida isn't a big fan, because we know that Texas and Texas A&M are in there. I think that Clemson would probably have a better shot at getting into the conference than would Miami. We're talking about the big. Talking about the SEC at this point. Florida State, just for the record, has been offered the opportunity to join the SEC 5 times. And the last time was 1994, and they chose to go to the ACC because of basketball. Honestly, I think in talking to Coach Bowden prior to that time, he wasn't too keen on going to the SEC. He kind of thought that perhaps that might be a little bit more pressure than he wanted. Let's see. What do we got here? I would expect the ACC to look at Utah, Arizona State, BYU, Arizona State, I see Texas, TCU, Houston, Colorado. Look, I think they could get Utah. I do. I think Utah's gettable. I think Arizona State might be gettable. I don't know about Arizona. I think San Diego State would be there. TCU, that's hard to say. Houston just moved in. I don't think they're going anywhere. Colorado, I think they're staying as well. Colorado likes the Big 12. Houston likes the Big 12. TCU likes the Big 12. Arizona, I think, likes the Big 12. I don't think that they, meaning the ACC, could make the accommodations for BYU, and I think BYU's happy where they are. I don't think Utah and Arizona State are happy with where they are. so they might be gettable. San Diego State, I think that's a good one, and why is because, as you probably know, uh, oh, you can't see a link. Okay, it's right above you there. It's got my name on. It's got a little. Maybe you can't. I'll send it to you. I'll get it to you. Um, I think, yeah, Utah is gettable. Arizona's State is gettable. Um, I don't think Arizona is. I think they're very much tied to Texas. Um, ASU has a campus in Southern California, which is kind of interesting, in Los Angeles. So I think they would like to be back with Cal and Stanford and the whole group. So I definitely know that ASU and Utah were the last guys out the door. They didn't want to go. They had to. They felt they had to go, and so they did. Uh, so we'll see. But I don't think. I think TCU, Houston, Colorado are happy where they are. I don't think that the accommodations that it would require because of BYU's religious situation could be accommodated by the ACC. I just don't think that would be something they could do or would do, and they seem to be happy right now where they are. So I think the big get, frankly, if it were me, I would go hard at Utah and Arizona State. I like what you're saying about that. Let's take a look here. You got a couple other things. ACC was Cal, Stanford, SMU, Utah, Arizona. That would be good. I agree with you. I think that Cal, Stanford, SMU, Utah, Arizona State, San Diego State would be solid. The reason I'm adding UNLV to that, okay, is let's think of growth stocks, okay? Now, my buddy Dan Mullen is out there as the head coach at Utah. I'm sorry, UNLV. We all remember that Jerry Tarkanian had one heck of a run out there at UNLV. That would be a get because it's a destination, and there's a lot of money being pumped into UNLV. So they may not be what you want right now, but in time they will be. And it's kind of like SMU, right, where they flew under the radar for many years and people just kind of didn't pay attention to them. And then when they showed up and decided, hey, look, we're here, we're willing to pay our own way into the conference, all of a sudden everybody looked up and realized, wait a minute, they're actually doing some pretty cool things. So 100% on what's going on with what's going on at UNLV out there. So if you took and made that with Cal and with Stanford, SMU, Utah, Arizona State, San Diego State, and added UNLV to the mix, I think that would be one heck of a good ad. And so many things that could be done out in your neck of the woods, out in the San Francisco Bay Area, down in SoCal with San Diego State, and UNLV in Vegas. Then go to the East Coast, and you've got maybe adding Tulane, which adds New Orleans, Tampa, which would add USF, which would add Tampa to the mix, UConn with their basketball. I mean, there's a lot of quality programs that would make the ACC even more attractive. So 100%, I do believe that is something we're going to do. Well, we're going to have to get out of here. It's great having lunch with you guys again, and truly enjoy talking with you. And I'll tell you what, Cal, when I get off here, I will go directly to send you that link, okay? And hope you all join us tomorrow. And Matt will be back tomorrow. We'll have some talk about some other issues going around college sports. So Matt Weatherby will be with us. Matt's been out most of this week, and he'll be back with us tomorrow. Okay. Well, thanks, Cal, and everybody else who showed up today and had lunch with us. And we're enjoying having lunch with you guys. So come back and see us tomorrow. Thanks again, everybody. Take care, Cal. Bye.